Hi everyone, it's Moonlight Mason. I always do that. I always right when I start my videos, like something crazy comes out of my mouth. If it is your first time here, do consider subscribing. I appreciate each and every one of you that has. Give it a thumbs up, leave the comments below. Now, first of all, I want to talk about the title, the enemies of Jake Paul. That title is still throwing me off. In the video, I didn't really see any enemies. Try to make the connection for me if you get the connection of the title and the video, because has Nick Crompton said that when the cameras go off in the Team 10 house, the question that Shane had asked him was, do people still like Jake Paul or do they not like him? And he said that people still like Jake. When they revealed his Jeep, Nick Crompton's Jeep, just so you know, universe, that is my dream car in white. So are you listening? Lately I've been asking the universe and they have been delivering. Also, what was interesting in the video is that both Jake Paul and Nick Crompton admitted that they're very well aware of their demographics, being between 8 years old and 16. And I do have quite a bit to say about that. I mean, when they showed the children outside the house, I know everyone wants to talk about the lady saying, you know, be kind to the children. It's sad. I'm just going to put it this way. I'm not going to go into it a lot because I know many of you are young and you may not understand, but I just find it very sad that these children are watching stuff like Nick talked about when Erica and Jake got kidnapped by the clowns. You know, can you imagine 8 years old and watching this instead of being playing outside? Videos that Team 10, these pranks that Jake and Logan, and many others do on YouTube, knowing that children as young as 8 years old are watching them. It makes you think. It makes you just think. And that's what I want you to do as a parent, or even if you yourself is young. I've made other comments about this in my prior videos. If you're young, like below 30 years old, I just want you to think about your actions and what you're feeding your brain and what you're feeding yourself and how that can affect your life. Nick confirmed what I have said in my prior two videos, that all of this is like actors on a stage, that most of it was fake, and that they were just doing a job and acting, but it does not negate that you still feel pain, that people, I don't know if anyone's really gotten hurt. And he said that he felt bad saying that it was fake because of a lot of the young viewers are still watching, and he doesn't want to break it to them. Like even Shane said, like Santa Claus. It really can affect your psyche, your ego, and implant in your mind things that are not really kosher. They're not really cool to do to other people. But somehow or another, if you're idolizing Jake Paul and you're watching his videos, in your mind, those things might be cool. Nick said how Jake reacts when people leave. He takes it personally and he blocks everybody right away. I just want you to think of that like personal rejection. Jake feels it's an attack to his ego, or that he's lost some sort of control over these people, and that Nick said that it's like you're either with us or you're against us, at which Shane said it's almost like being in a cult. And Nick said Jake was not a sociopath because he's seen him cry. Okay, I just want to say one thing right now about the crying part. And it's true. Sociopaths will cry when needed to get you to feel sorry for them or soften your heart so that they can end up with what they want. It's a form of manipulation. So the part when he said that he has seen Jake cry does not mean that he's not a sociopath. It doesn't mean that he is, but it certainly doesn't mean that he's not. What is true is Nick said that Jake has problems processing his emotions, and that sometimes you can see, which we've talked about in my channel. If you've been following me for any time, we talk a lot about processing thought, processing what happens to you, and how that's the first step to how you're going to respond. It's your mind and how it's been trained to process things that happen around you, process thought. And he said that he's seen Jake. You could see it in Jake's face when he's kind of confused in processing his thoughts or events that have happened. Now, when Shane starts asking Nick, he asked him, should I talk about, should I ask him about this? Or should I ask him about like when Logan, got his girlfriend? God, that's just another subject, you guys. That's a horrible thing that the two brothers were with the same girl. It must have been really horrible for Jake if, in fact, he had any true feelings for her. I know that he treated her awful by dragging her down the stairs and kicking her out into the streets and leaving all her stuff out and all that. But, and it could have been handled in a different way. But you know what? In a way, it's too bad, but usually that's what happens if your brother or your sister finds out that you've been sleeping with their brothers or sisters or someone. You know what I mean? It gets really messy, and especially the girl is, I know she's been shamed all over the internet, and that's not cool, but certainly, I don't know, it's just this culture where you're sleeping around, and even if you sleep with two brothers, let's just put it out there, because she wanted to be a savage and, play his game. And like she admitted, he should have never treated me bad on a daily basis. Well, excuse me, you still are a volunteer. You're still you would hope that all the members are volunteers, right? And that you can leave whenever you want. You would hope that's the case. And I haven't heard anything that has alluded to that the members felt like you had to stay. Almost like that intimidation that a victim feels from their abuser when you're in a relationship. And we always question, well, why didn't you leave? Well, sometimes you're so afraid to leave. You're afraid to leave because, they can catch you and they can kill you or they can really harm you. And I'm not saying that's happening here, but certainly when she says he shouldn't have treated me like that day to day and I shouldn't have done that. Well, I don't know. I think you should take personal accountability for how you're treated every day and stop pointing fingers and start learning that you have a choice. In everything that you do, everything that you listen to, you have a choice. What I liked about Nick's response to Shane, I liked so much about Nick, and I've read some of the comments, and I know that some people actually didn't find him sincere. I personally did, but what I really liked is a person who's being sincere will say something like when Shane kept asking him, which, I thought was, the one or two things that he asked, do you think it's okay if I ask Jake, blah, blah, blah? I think one or two things is okay, but asking Nick to comment further, I think was just a little too much. And Nick said, I don't think you should ask him that, especially if you're going to have other people around. He won't be as open, if it's just you and Jake and Shane. He'll be more open when he trusts just one person, which leads me to when Shane went into, and you know what? It may have been kidding, it may not. A lot of you guys are commenting, oh, well now, if Jake sees this video, he's going to know that the therapist is coming undercover. This has been, just so you guys know, when you make videos, not this video. This video is actually being filmed today, the day that it comes out. But when you're doing a series like this, you guys, or you're making a movie, or you're doing anything like this, these things are filmed weeks and weeks ago. It's not like it was just filmed. A lot of the editing is current, but what you're seeing being filmed, Jake already, it's done. The whole series is done already. It's not like Shane is still working on the series. He's working the back end right now. 8 years old, and you're watching, I believe it was Logan with Jake's ex-girlfriend saying something like, showing a bunch of condoms and saying something like, you see these condoms? We're not going to use them. That's where I have a problem, when you're putting that out to 10-year-olds. You know, they haven't even matured yet. Another interesting point was when Nick said that Jake hides his feelings because he feels that it's a sign of weakness. And even when they on Shane's video, when he went back to Jake Draw My Life, and Jake drew a tear and then he erased it, you know, Jake said, I almost cried, but then he erased the tear. So that kind of like went along with, you know, I feel feelings, but if I show them, you know, it's a form of weakness. It reminds me of one time my girlfriend was pregnant, and her husband and I and her went out to dinner, and I vegan 100%, and he said no. He said my son is going to eat meat because that makes him a man. Okay, and that is the same thought process that is learned and implanted in you at a young age. Basically, rejection can and does affect your ego. A lot of people have problems with rejection. You'll feel it really strong when you like someone and they don't like you back, or, you know, when you just can't move on when someone says no, and, you know, you feel that you need to have power over them. Power and control. Those are the two words that came to me when Nick was talking about how Jake takes rejection personally. It comes to power and control. Even being aware that it is about power and control. Or you're aware of it, like Jake perhaps is aware that him crying or having deep emotions, or not even knowing how to deal with those emotions because they may have been squished when he was a child. You know, you're a boy, you don't cry, that old type of way of thinking. And I don't feel that that's too far because of what we've seen with their father, Greg Paul. Now, you know, I think it would be an excellent idea if after this is over, people are saying he's going to do one on Logan. No. You got to do one on Greg Paul. Can you imagine how he grew up, the father, and what happened to him? We have no idea what made him the way he is, but apparently Nick Crompton does not think highly of his father, of Jake's father, Greg Paul, and that he mentioned as the real reason why he left Team 10. I'm seeing more and more people open up and say, you know what, I think I need to go and, you know, talk about this, you know, and get some counseling, or just talk about it. You know, the more you can even write about it, the more you write about how you're feeling. If you're a dominant right-handed, try and ask yourself questions with your left hand and then answer with your dominant hand. That's a big tip that I have for you, because our brain is so wired that when you write with your left hand, I mean, if you're right-handed, you're actually getting in touch with the left side of your brain, right? Which is the logical side. And that's how we're taught. Most people are right-handed. And if you're left-handed, that comes from your right brain, which is more creative and, you know, reflective, and, you know, you ponder things about you and you start thinking. And that's wonderful because it's opening up the possibilities. And that's what this series should be all about, is opening up the possibilities to increasing your awareness of who you are and increasing your awareness of all the things that you don't like about yourself. So I encourage you to stop thinking so much about what Jake Paul does and enjoy the series, of course, but all of us need to just take a moment and think about our actions and our thoughts, no matter where you're at. Think about how and what you talk about, because maybe you can't really think about what you're thinking about, because but you can certainly become more aware of what you talk about. And if you talk about the past, and all you do is reiterate the same stories over and over and over again, they mention the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's why a lot of people are sad. That's why a lot of people are depressed, is because all they do is talk about what's happened to them in the past. I call them core initiations. And the more you talk about your core initiations, the more you're digging that groove deeper and deeper into the record. It's like your mind and a tape recorder, and it's playing over and over and reinforcing that you don't want in your life. So instead of talking about the story and what happened, which you have to do, I'm encouraging you to do that, because many of you haven't, and that is the first step. But you don't dwell and stay there for years. You don't stay there for years. You talk about it, and then you start building an awareness of who you are and what's happening with you. And the more you build that awareness, the more you will consider your options. And you'll know, you know what? I don't have to do this. I don't have to tell everybody all these horrific stories. I can tell, but let's try and focus on the solution and how we can move forward in doing things that's going to help make your life a happier life and a healthy one. I hope everyone is healthy mentally, spiritually, and emotionally, and physically, and finding that balance will make you a happy person. I will see you in my next video. Bye.